Welcome to the University of Minnesota's Orientation Module for students of color studying abroad. My name is Jessica and I will be your host today. This module will cover racial, cultural, and national identity, the lens of U.S. political correctness within a foreign context, coping with racial fatigue, and expectations and realities. We're glad you're preparing for your time abroad and starting to think about the cultural aspects of your experience. The more research you can do before you go abroad, the more informed you will be about the cultural context of the country you are studying in. We hope doing this research makes for a positive experience abroad. Despite the thought that we are living in post-racial America, saying the Americans have some unresolved issues in dealing with race would be an understatement. The U.S. isn't the only country with a history of ethnic and racial intolerance, and this can be the cause of concern for many students of color and their families as they prepare to study abroad. You might be studying in a country where, for the first time, you are in the majority, or in a country where you feel you are defined more by citizenship or sex versus your race. The world is more connected than ever. With this brings the influence of American media and popular culture. As a result, American racial history, stereotypes, and the exportation of American culture influence misconceptions of Americans globally. Because of this, when you are abroad, you may encounter the stereotypes that are results of these exported images. Some students of color found that due to the fact that images of white Americans dominate U.S. popular culture, they constantly had to convince host nationals that they were in fact Americans. Others found that during their time abroad, their national identity eclipsed their racial identity. You have the opportunity to dispel these stereotypes and shape others' perceptions of Americans during your time abroad. Many outside factors come together to influence the many ways in which we identify ourselves. Before you go abroad, reflect on how you identify yourself. Do you identify yourself racially, ethnically, culturally, or nationally? How does this identification fit within the American cultural context? Your identity will likely evolve throughout your time abroad and will continue to evolve after you return. You may find that your host culture reacts differently to racial or ethnic minorities than what you're used to in the U.S. You may get more curious stares, blunt questions, and ignorant remarks. People may ask to touch your skin or hair, and you may enjoy celebrity status as the subject of many photos and complimented on your physical features. You may also feel isolated at times from your hosts and your fellow Americans. Economic and immigration history of your host country may also result in false assumptions about your background. If you are studying in a country where you blend in or share a common heritage with the majority, you may encounter the feeling of being connected but not fully a part of society. While you may blend in physically, you will more than likely experience challenges in terms of cultural differences in values, expectations, and language differences because you are not native to the host country. You may expect to be welcomed with open arms because of your similar physical appearances, but instead, you could still be seen as an outsider. Many students have found that studying abroad in a country where they were in the majority was an overwhelmingly positive experience. It afforded them the opportunity to be a part of the majority and see people who resembled themselves in the media and in powerful and prominent positions. It also allowed them to engage with people whom they shared a racial or ethnic identity with, but not a national identity, thus allowing for many learning opportunities. Heritage-seeking study abroad students may encounter higher expectations from the host culture to behave like a local and speak the host language fluently, and face criticism for lack of familiarity with language and cultural norms. Be aware that your hosts may not understand the dynamics of being a minority in the U.S. and the pressure to conform and assimilate to U.S. culture. Other cultures often comment that they don't understand why Americans obsess about race. The idea of political correctness is a uniquely American concept which has arisen due to our complex racial and political history. Oftentimes, students will try to imprint this concept onto a culture that doesn't share the same historical context. This results in students being offended by local language and terms while being perceived as hypersensitive by their hosts. In the eyes of your hosts, their comments are interpreted as simply exercising their right to free speech or are based on cultural norms. Remember that you alone are not going to change the culture as a whole, but see it as an opportunity for meaningful dialogue with your hosts. When you get to the point where you're tired of having to educate people, tired of the stares and comments, and tired of being a representative for people who look like you have encountered racial fatigue. Racial fatigue can be overwhelming and exhausting, but there are ways to cope with it. Utilize the on-site staff as cultural informants. Many of them are natives of your host country, so share your experiences with them. They might be able to give you helpful insight into an incident or action. Be prepared to let them know what kind of support you need. Connect with the local community here and abroad, such as student organizations, expats, and community centers. Reach out to other students on your program. Many of them might be feeling the same way you are. Contact your Education Abroad office for additional strategies and resources, such as connecting you with recent returnees. Utilize valuable online resources and publications. Forums, websites, and blogs like Diversity Abroad, Rick Steves, and the No Madness Travel Tribe connect travelers from around the world and can provide you with a community of travelers of color who you can share with and learn from. Publications like Race Abroad for Americans of Color Preparing to Live Abroad and American Identity Abroad can provide you with additional insight as well. Thank you for viewing the Students of Color module for Study Abroad. Visit these resources for more information and contact your Education Abroad office with specific questions. We wish you a positive and safe experience abroad.